Hey, mamas. I just want to share my view or thoughts on RFK's speech. First of all, I want to thank you, sir, for giving us a voice, giving us a stage, and lighting that fire for us because my son is 17 years old. He was diagnosed at 2.5 years old. And it wasn't until he was 9, 10 years old when I finally got him reassessed for services at Washington State, to get services because there wasn't any fundings at all. And when he was diagnosed, we didn't have the levels that we have now. And I was hopeful. I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna teach him this. I'm gonna stay home and teach him all kinds of good stuff, and want to make him be as independent as possible. Join Special Olympics, let him join sports team and everything. We even tried Taekwondo, and the reality is, it wasn't the case. We couldn't sleep for over a decade until we finally gave it into medication to get him to sleep. My husband and I haven't slept together in years, maybe if you count it in decades, and we've been together for 25 years. And I just want to let the family know that, we are not dealing with the same kind of autism that is portrayed in the mass media. My son does not have the good doctor autism. He's not a genius that way. He's probably a genius in his own way, but I wouldn't know because he's nonverbal. He is severely impacted with intellectual developmental disabilities. He doesn't have the love on the spectrum autism. I don't see it. He's not going to fall in love. He's not going to get married. He's not going to have kids. I'm not going to have my grandbabies. And it's just sad. It's sad. And I think that we finally have the other spectrum mentioned, the other side of the spectrum mentioned, and everyone's having a cow. Again, good for you that you don't have to deal with sleepless night or a picky eater who only eats so many things, who has gut issues and, food aversions. And, when puberty hits, it was probably the worst things that a parent can witness, because that's when the self-interest behavior started. Imagine, this is my life, okay? This is our life. And his older sister always wanted a sibling to play with, and she never did have that. And she even questions whether or not her brother loves her, because they don't have any connection. And she loves him so much, and she protects him, and she worries about him. And rarely do I ever see her cry. And she always steps in to help him, cleaning up after him, which everything, after every meltdown, after every destruction, she picks herself up and she moves on with her life. And she just has this strong will about her to protecting her brother. So she'll never have that sibling bonding that she craved for. She's later on in her years, she even asked me, I'm like, Mom, when am I going to get my sister that you promised? I'm like, Summer, your sister is in the room, 17 years old, and sleeping under the cover right now. I'm sorry, you've asked for her. And, it's just our normal, unfortunately, and everybody's normal is different. And, when I was diagnosed with cancer in 2020, I see the huge disparity between services for autism and cancer. I felt the lump, general practitioner sent me to get a mammogram, biopsy, and oncologists meet with the board, and they decide, they know exactly what kind of, they run some tests, and they know exactly what kind of cancer I have. They had a board meeting, and they discuss care plan, from surgery to medication to the amount of radiation to amount of chemo, what kind of chemo works best, and if that doesn't work, what's next for that, and if that didn't work, what's next for that. When it came to autism, we got a list of providers, and we were responsible for that list. We were responsible for his services. And we were responsible for advocating and appealing every single thing that was denied, whether it be his age, he aged out, whether it be the amount of therapy services, because apparently when you're nonverbal, you only get 7 sessions and you're going to have to fight and prove that he needs more, and it's just so frustrating. And after the first 5-6 years, I was like, well, how is it that we have insurance and they're not paying for any of it? From his health and his physical health and his mental health, everything. And he's 17 years old now, and we're on our third crisis. Third. And I wish it's not happening, but it's happening. And I think to myself sometimes, I just think, why is it so hard to get the help we need? Why is it so hard to get the real help at real time that we need? Why is it that we are the ones struggling so hard every which way, every day to get the services that he needs? To see your child in that much pain and can't tell you, at this point, he's 17, he is level 3 autism. He still has challenges sleeping. He takes meds for that. We have numerous amount of additional underlying medical condition, mental health, physical health, and he regresses with every crisis that we hit or every big change that we hit in our family. He regress, and it's so sad to watch your child regress and to not only forget to do what he used to do, but he forgets. He gets. I know this because he gets so frustrated with himself that he hurts himself. He hits himself to the point where he bleeds. When he has these episodes, we can't touch him. It's almost like he's going through a seizure or something, and yet we're the one translating everything to our professionals, to the psychiatrists, to his doctors. And I feel like it's not fair because I'm not the professional. I'm mom, yes. I know him best, yes. But it's still not fair that I'm the one assessing and taking data on what is going on and why is he doing it? What do you think is going on? What do you think is happening? It makes no sense at all. And he can't communicate that. He communicates his pain by hurting himself. People don't understand that. When you look at my son, he looks like a normal child. He looks like a normal person, and he's the most handsome, most beautiful child, and I just don't understand how all these decades of this diagnosis and multiple underlying conditions that we don't have an answer. We don't have a front person to go, hey, why is he working with 3 different case managers? One for the school, one for DDA, and then one for the hospital. Oh, and then the insurance company on top of it, who just deny you on everything that we need. It's so frustrating. It's just, during my cancer treatment, there were times I don't even know we're going to make it. I don't know if I'm going to die before him and what's going to happen to him and what's going to happen to our family. Destruction happened because it happened during COVID and everything was shut down, and I couldn't even heal properly. I couldn't even sleep. I couldn't rest, and I had to depend on my 15-year-old daughter at the time. As soon as she turned 15 and I was diagnosed, she was behind the wheels, taking us to therapy, taking us to our, chemotherapy, his ABA services, his speech therapy, it's just nonstop. And there was nowhere to turn. No one would come to the house. No one could come to the house. It was me and him. And there were times where, my husband had to take him out, skip work, and we're suffering. We had the biggest challenge of our life, from mental health to financial health to physical health, everything. And I still wonder, how are we still here? We're still here because we're here to share our voice. We're here because we're here to share our story. And it's not okay that we're not sleeping, that we're not making the money we need to stay afloat, to have to pick between, the toilet and the bathroom, or, a roof over our head, or food on our table, because he's so destructive. And I don't want to talk meanly or madly or horribly about my son, because that's not his fault. What I do want to blame is the lack of support we need, the lack of support that we should have gotten. We don't have that. And it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair to the sibling. It's not fair to the parents. And it's not fair to the child. How fair is it that it gets so lonely that he sits in his room depressed, like he developed depression because everything closed down and no one was here. No one was here. And I couldn't do much. After chemotherapy, I was out like a light for days on end. After radiation, same thing. After surgery, same thing. And I felt for my son. I wanted him to be out playing like he used to, before hormone hit, before COVID hit and everything closed down. He used to play 9-10 hours out of the day, run and basketball and biking and swimming, and I couldn't do that for him. I couldn't take him out. I couldn't take him out myself. As a mom, physically, I couldn't. I'm barely 5 foot. My son is now 5'7" and 170 pounds. With all the things that was going on with my body, I was deteriorating, and I blamed myself. I blamed myself for not being able to take him out. Like, even just for his favorite thing to do is to drive 3-4 hours a day and stick his head out the window so he can just be, in his place. And it's not fair. It's just, everyone celebrate autism based on the mass media and what it says and what it tells you and how we should perceive things. It's not. He doesn't have that kind of autism. He's nonverbal. He's self-interest. He's a picky eater, so he's going to eat what he's going to eat. And I'm thankful he's eating at all and not on a feeding tube. So in some cases, some kids will do that, and he's had known to starve himself because we had tried to give him healthier options. And people are mad or upset that we describe our children this way. How are we supposed to advocate, and why are we even advocating for any service at all if we don't need it? If we don't need these services? When a child who is bigger than you is hurting himself and you can't do anything about it, and you're grieving and you're crying alone in your room because that's all you can do. You don't want your family to see. You don't want your children to see. Your daughter is trying to hold it up on her own and trying to be strong and trying to get through school. And, in between classes, she's hearing banging on the wall. And in between classes, she's cleaning up after his mess after he destroyed things. And she's making it. But what do you do? What do you do when multiple people in your family are just sick and you have one income coming into the house, if he can go to work, because he's worried, because my husband's worried about what our son's gonna do to me after my treatments. It's simply not fair. And the truth is we are suffering. We are suffering beyond what anyone can imagine. Beyond.
And every parent knows who loves their children, the worst thing you can feel is to see your child suffer. And you can't do anything about it. So again, I thank RFK for shedding a light on this, because it's not life. This is not how we're supposed to live. We shouldn't be just existing and trying to survive each day. You know, ever since he was 2.5 years old, we advocate and we appeal and we fight, and he's gone through so much during the school district and all the abuse that he went through because they didn't have the support he needed. They've lost him. He was hurt. He was bitten. He was punched. He was striked. Like, I just don't understand. And, and that's just supposed to be his safe place. They're supposed to provide that safe learning environment for him. No, that didn't happen. Why do I have to fight for someone to even be there with him so he can be safe, so that way he can regulate, and so that way he have his person to protect him throughout the whole day? The whole entire day he's with someone. And I'm thankful for that. But it shouldn't be the case. He should always have a safe place. At school, at camp, at home, even from himself. Ever since he was young, he just used to always throw himself to the ground and laugh about it. He broke his toe once and he just thrashed his feet onto the ground and laugh about it. Now it's anger because of the hormones that kicked in. It's just anger when he hurts himself. And you just know. And you just know that you can't do anything about it and hope that his medication kicks in. The worst thing ever is to give your child medication and it doesn't work. And believe me, we have gone through 6 maybe different kinds. We even went the natural route. And it's just so hard to watch. It's the hardest thing, and I wish there was a better game plan like they would when I was diagnosed with cancer. I just don't understand why we don't have a real game plan with a real leader, a real case manager that just connects cohesively with each other and assess them and keep an eye on them and just everything. Everything is just so separate and not transparent, and nothing works together. And Fridays, once a month, we meet up with his team. He has 4 case manager, yo. It's not even funny. It's so much work for me. I can't work now because of the treatments that from cancer had put me on disability. But I coordinate everything for him still, and I coordinate everything for myself, and I worry about my daughter in college, and I worry about my husband's health. We're in that age, or that group that makes just enough money to not qualify for anything. And I just don't understand how, in the state of Washington, we're just being taxed up left and right. And there was just no support at all still. We literally have to take him into the ER to go through the ER because he's bleeding and hurting himself just to get services for him. Just to expedite services for our son, who's nonverbal, with severely impacted intellectual developmental disability, who's self-injurious, picky eater, doesn't sleep. We need to use real language for our children and represent. Because if we are suffering like this, we need to advocate, and we need real help in real time now. It's ridiculous what families are going through by themselves, alone. I am thankful I have a husband who loves us so much and is so dedicated that he's still here. He still takes care of us after he drives for a living. He's a truck driver, so he still come home tend to his son, tend to me, tend to the house, all by himself. So I'm just thankful for a really blessed partner that I had prayed for when I was younger. But it's still hard. And I can't imagine how hard it is to be by yourself, because we all know that families living with autism have a huger and higher rate of divorce. And believe me, there were many times I thought about leaving. There were. Because I'm just like, this is not the life. There's no way. There's no way. But I love my babies and I love my family. And I can't imagine life without them. And I can't imagine their life without me. So, thank you again. Thank you again, Secretary Kennedy. Because you light a fire back into our life and shedding that spotlight into our lives. We need to be heard. And it's the truth. Nothing's going to change that. Nothing's going to change what's going on in our lives right now. And we need support. We need real support in real time for families living with profound, severe autism. Because it's just not right. It's just not right that we're surfing through this all by ourselves. It's not. Please. And thank you. Make it right again.